Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics, last known classics. This is episode 1466 and Doubleshot number 1360. Now, once again, physical stuff. One Valiant trade and one ID and one Marvel trade. Alright, first up it is Rai, Volume 1, Welcome to New Japan. Yes, this collects the first 4 issues of Rai. I believe this is Volume 3, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is the 3rd volume for the series. Yeah, the thing with this particular volume is it's not very long. It's only 16 issues. Now, the strange thing about this book is this technically could be counted as it could be counted as the 2nd volume. It kind of is basically the 2nd volume for the series, even though you can kind of say it's the 3rd volume. Now, Rai himself is a character from the future, from the year 4001. Yes, pretty much the same century that Magnus Robot Fire is from. Now, if you're curious, though, did Rai ever encounter Magnus Robot Fire in the original continuity? I'm reading lately. The answer is yes. As a matter of fact, he made his debut in the book in issue number 5 as part of a flip book for about 4 issues, and eventually he got his own spin-off book. Now, mostly put, when it comes to Rai, I'm looking at basically his original look compared to this look here on the cover and his original look. The only change they made to his look is it's mostly the same, except they basically made the big spot in his chest basically almost like the Japanese flag. Basically the World War II style, basically with the sun on the flag. Now, this book itself is done by Matt Knott, another Matt Knott book. Now, here's a fun fact about the artist of this book, Clayton Crane. This series, to date, as far as I know, I even confirmed this with Clayton Crane, this is the last book. Well, by the time we get to the final issue, this is basically the last book that Clayton Crane ever did interiors for. Yeah, this is the last one. I haven't confirmed it. Yep, this is definitely the last one he ever did. He mostly does he even like the Dot says just mostly do cover stories, which you probably like, really? Yes, really. They do frickin' cover stories. Now, he does do mainly the original run itself. The initial 12 issues. Here's the strange thing, though, about this book. 12 overlays, all in time, and then basically, 13, because I think the series was supposed to last, about 12 issues, but there was 4 additional issues. Next issue didn't come out until, 5 months later. Yes. Though they had a new interior artist in the book. Yeah, for some reason they replaced him with a different artist. Yeah. But the big thing about this book is, you can definitely say about it, is that it's a lead up to an actual crossover event. Yes. Now, at the time when I basically jumped on to Valiant, this book had just basically finished releasing issue 12, and 13 to 16 were actually released at the same time that I was reading it. These 5 issues is purely the start of this very brief run, and probably was intentional. I think 13 and 16 were just bonus issues, just having time to the crossover event 4001, which came a little over a year after this book started. Now, if you're curious though, who created Rai? It was Jim Shooter. Yep, Jim Shooter. He created him. Now, this version is definitely a Matt Knott creation. Yes, this is definitely his first appearance. Though he's referred to as Rai X. I don't really know why he's referred to as Rai X. The original version was created by Jim Shooter and Don Perlin. Of course, the original appearance was back in Magnus Robot Fire number 5. This is a rebooted version of the character. Yep. As for his debut in this comic, it's quite interesting. Now, from the look of the comic itself, it looks like, though, that the comic itself, the art style, what Clayton Crane is going for, it seems like the future for Japan. Here he is. Here's Rai himself. I would probably say he takes a lot of inspiration from Blade Runner. Yeah, from the look of it, it does. I didn't confirm this with Clayton Crane. I don't know if he did, but reading this book and look at the artwork, it looks like the Rai is set in a version, at least something inspired by Blade Runner. Yeah, that movie inspired a boatload of stuff. This is about the start of this particular run, and this book only collects the first 4 issues of this very brief run, I'd say. Yeah, it was a brief run. So, we just have Rai basically just doing his own superhero thing, because he's basically the hero of the future for New Japan. New Japan, mind you, is basically a country that floats above the clouds. That's basically how it is. And the person who oversees it is an AI known as Father. Yes, an AI. Which, of course, at the end of the first story arc, Rai wants to take it down. Yep. But this is overall a really fun book. I love Rai. He is personally one of my favorite Valiant characters. If you're going to ask me personally, what is my least favorite book by Valiant? It's Quantum and Woody. I do not find the duo interesting at all. I mean, yeah, Archie Armstrong are comedy duo too, but they are a lot more interesting than Quantum and Woody. That's just my opinion anyways. This book is just pure fun. I love it. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah. And still, the Valiant trades are $9.99. Yeah, as far as I can tell, I don't know what's the reason for this. Like, why would Valiant be charging this dirt cheap of a price? I mean, Zeoscope, which has probably been publishing a little bit longer than this has, and their trades cost a little bit more than this does. I think there's like $12, $13. This is like freaking $10. I was thinking this like 4 for like $10. Like, wow, dirt cheap. Alright, next up it is Marvel Masterworks Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, which collects issues 31 to 40 of the Amazing Spider-Man ongoing series. Excuse me, 31 38. These issues here are the last issues that the late Steve Ditko worked on. The reason why he left, and it's been documented that he left. There's a couple different reasons why. One is that he was not getting along with Stan Lee at this point. Another reason is because of the Green Goblin. Yes, the Green Goblin. He wanted to be anomalous. Stan Lee wanted to be Norman Osborn, which they revealed that in issue 39. The very first issue that basically Steve Ditko did not draw for the book. If you read this, while reading, I spoke with my friend Timmy about this, that the reason why that John Romita Sr.'s artwork looks so similar to Steve Ditko's artwork at the start of it, because he was asked to do that. Yes. Now, is there debuts in these issues? Yes, 31 has debut of Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. By the way that Steve Ditko draws Gwen Stacy is a bit weird. It's almost like they draw her like a slightly older woman. By the way that May Parker is drawn here, yeah, apparently other artists basically took inspiration from this and just have, let's just have it where she's drawn like this for the next 50 years. Dracula is an extremely old woman. And look, here we have right here on the second page, a few pages into the book, basically roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly 8 pages into this book, we introduce the 2 new characters, Harry Osborn and the beautiful Gwen Stacy. 2 characters who become integral part of the Spider-Man mythos up until present day. Harry Osborn is still very much alive. He did briefly die back in Spectacular Spider-Man 200, but was revived thanks to events of the controversial One More Day event. Gwen Stacy, of course, will be around for a pretty good period of time. Yes, she'll be around from 1965 to pretty much the start of the Bronze Age, which they kill her off. Yes. which a lot of people didn't like the fact they killed her off. I did hear something. Jerry Conway did get permission to do that, but Stan Lee wasn't happy with it. Nope. But here's the neat thing about 31. 31 is part one of a three-parter involving a storyline known as the Master Planner. I love this storyline. Basically, the Master Planner is Dr. Octopus. And I think at this point, Dr. Octopus has not been seeing the book since, like, I would probably say since the Amazing Spider-Man since the first annual. It's been a little while since he's been last seen. Yeah, and that three-parter took up the first three issues of I love the storyline. It is so freaking good. Basically, Spider-Man comes saving the world. That's simply the gist of these three issues here. Of 31 to 33. Yep. Also, the recurring plot for, oh yeah, something wrong with May Parker. Troubling. 34 is a return of Kraven the Hunter. Yes, I believe he had not been seen also since the Amazing Spider-Man annual. Yep. It's just a quick, little standalone issue. And then we have the return of another villain in here, the Multi-Man, Liz Allen's stepbrother. Yep. He's around, I think, for just this one issue. Yeah. He's released from jail thanks to good behavior. And then we have issue 36. You're probably thinking, like, Nick, why are you talking like you're so disappointed? 36 is the debut of my least favorite Spider-Man villain, Meteor Man, also known as the Looter. I don't give a damn about this villain at all. He's got an okay costume. It just, I don't freaking care. Like, even my friend Tibbet, even he agreed. This villain, even when he saw this villain, he had no idea who the heck this villain is. I knew who he is, because I've read a damn comic. That's how I know who this guy is. And I always keep hoping at some point the Punisher would kill this guy because of how annoying and how much I hate this character. I mean, for a lot of people, their least favorite villain is, of course, the Vulture. For me, it is this guy, the Looter. I don't give a damn about this character. Yeah, he appears as one issue, and then, of course, 37 is a lot more better issue. Though we still have the plenty of seeds of relation between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. 37 is the debut of Melder Strom, aka the Robot Master. A character who has appeared on and off over the years. Like, his most recent appearance was actually in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man, obviously. And he was basically killed off when Nick Spencer wrote the book. Yep, they finally killed off this character. Pretty much useless villain. A guy obsessed with robots. Yeah, and we're still planting the seeds of Gwen Stacy's relationship with Peter Parker. This is just a really weird issue. It's just cheesy fare. 38 is, well, here it is right here. The final issue drawn by Steve Ditko. Is there any debuts in the storyline? Just a standalone villain named Joe. Yep. But the big thing about this issue is that it's set up for the next two issues, this one, which features the return of the Green Goblin, who had not been seen since issue 27 of the series. Yep, so we get 12 issues. Love this cover. It's so freaking good. Compare it to, let's say, this cover right here. It's a very drastically different cover. Oh, and here's a fun factoid when it comes to this cover right here. If you ever get a chance to get your hands on potential Spider-Man Volume 2, they use this very cover as the cover for the issue itself. There's actually a homage to this cover where it's basically Spider-Man on the Goblin glider holding up Norman Osborn. Yeah, they actually spoofed this one. And this one is basically, this two-parter is famous due to the fact they reveal who Green Goblin is. Norman Osborn, obviously. Yep. This is something Stan Lee wanted to do, not Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko was actually against this idea. And this two-parter, I would say, was actually loosely adapted. Well, actually, probably later story was loosely adapted for an episode of the Spider-Man animated series. This one, of course, is a really good storyline. And look at this artwork. You're probably thinking, Is Steve Ditko drawing the artwork? No, this is John Romita Sr. The release guy handed this. This actually is a lot crisper. Like, compare this to the previous issue. The very previous issue that Steve Ditko worked on. That's Peter Parker's face, drawn by Steve Ditko. Here he is, drawn by John Romita Sr. Excuse me. Yep. And this right here, this is the reason why Steve Ditko left the book. This scene is why he left. He did not want to do this. He wanted Green Goblin anomalous, but no, it had to be Norman Osborn. And this 40 here, that actually ends the Green Goblin saga for quite a while. Yeah, Green Goblin doesn't come back until the, let's just say, the critically acclaimed three-parter that basically kind of almost ended Stan Lee's tenure as the writer for the book, which also were the first three issues of the series not to have the comical seal of authority. I might discuss this issue in the future, but yes. These issues are awesome. Give this book a 10 out of 10. Really good. And I do recommend it. If you're fans of Spider-Man. Yep. So by Volume 4, you've covered roughly just a few short years of Amazing Spider-Man. Awesome. Covered the first 40 issues of the series plus 2 annuals. And number 2 is the second and last annual for the series. I should point out, though, that Steve Ditko ever did for Amazing Spider-Man. Stan Lee, on the other hand, would do the next 3 annuals, and that would be it. Yes, he would only do just the first 5 annuals, and he wouldn't do any more after that. And here's a fun fact when it comes to that after Infinite come out, they did release 4 more annuals after that, at least about 5 more. The 5th one being number 10, which was the debut of the Human Fly. Annuals 6 through 9 were reprints. Yes, it was a thing for Marvel to have annuals be used for reprints. Not individual issues like DC did. Yeah, DC did this occasionally if you look up online. Like, there are certain issues that are like giant size because they actually reprint old issues. This is mostly as a cost-saving measure. But if you look at, let's say, Marvel Comics in the 60s, I would say like maybe 1 or 2 are reprints of regular issues. Although a lot of the time they say that for annuals. Yep. But not much I'll say about this book. These 2 books are both really good, and I can't wait to discuss another Valiant book. Though this one is a little more recent than the other one. Rye actually was one of the books I started with when they brought back Valiant back in 2012. Yeah, this was one of the first ones I did. And, well, I can't wait to discuss more Valiant because I love Valiant. Okay, so that's it for particular review. Stay tuned for tomorrow. My reviews for How a Realist Hero Revealed the Kingdom. The case study of the case study book of Atlantis. Case closed. And possibly a comic corner. Okay? Next video. Bye.